So when I was really young, the internet didn't even have like the search bar thing. It was like AOL, and you had to pick from the different sections of the internet. You couldn't go other places other than with that provider, which is kind of like an early form of like not net neutrality.
But so you were on AOL, which was still a web-based system, graphical web browser.
Yeah, there was no navigation whatsoever.
When I started, it looked like a bulletin board system. It was all text-based.
Just 4chan looking stuff?
Yeah, I was in like middle school, I think.
Ooh.
So, we were dialing up, and like Gopher was still a thing way back then.
Oh, I remember Gopher just like a little bit.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special episode of PCR, Pop Culture Renegades, for those who don't know that. My name is Samuel Locke.
And I am Josh Goldman.
And on this very, very special occasion, we're talking about the slow, agonizing, near death of net neutrality. I don't want to say it's quite dead just yet. It's got a long way to go. But a major announcement was, this week, and we would love to talk about what that means for you, me, and everyone that uses it, which is pretty much the entire freaking planet. Man. First,
well, why don't we start off by discussing what net neutrality actually is?
I would love to. So, for those to kind of like put it in a little bubble, net neutrality is the more of a philosophical belief than anything else. It's a belief where all internet traffic should be treated fairly, equally, meaning that I have this exact same amount of data that Google has, that Yahoo has, that the guy next door has. And it seems so arbitrary when thinking about it, like, okay, big deal. But it's so much bigger than that.
Right. So basically what it comes down to legally, and from the legal sense, is that no ISP is able to give any other service more bandwidth than another one, unless, of course, if they're paying for it. But basically what we're looking at is, say Time Warner decided that they didn't like the type of news that Fox News was putting out, because most people don't. So Time Warner could say, you know what, we're going to prioritize all of our stuff over Fox, and we're actually going to slow Fox down just because we can, and we want our stuff to be seen first.
And here's the thing, a little bit of brief history of net neutrality. The easiest consumer starting of this point would be around 2005. Peer-to-peer sharing was a big thing. It was a big issue.
I actually have a timeline that I will throw up on the screen while you're talking.
And so this is the first time that the general public was really aware about the idea of net neutrality. Verizon took P2P sharing to court, and the courts were like, well, that you just got to deal with it because, keeping the internet open, fair, and free was a very early tenet and still remained as such. In fast forward now to 2010, we have these open internet protocol guidelines. They weren't exactly rules yet. And you guys can see a little bit about it in an article that we wrote a couple days ago. But basically, these rules were, keeping things accessible, keeping things free, keeping things transparent, and there's a couple other rules involved. But basically, it was very consumer friendly, making sure that the big guys don't eat up your data, prioritize your data, cancel your data, anything of the nature. And it was and is still extremely important to deal with. And then in 2012, we had some really crazy things happen with Verizon using something called super cookies. And what these super cookies are, as delicious as it sounds, not delicious at all. What ends up happening is that these cookies tracked more personal data than just, hey, I visited this website at this time, here's my general address. They were able to see pretty much where you were, who you were, and the worst part is if you deleted those cookies, they would still have access to them, which was a flagrant privacy violation. Only recently, I think it was 2015, 2016, was Verizon finally fined $3.5 billion for that infraction, which they were not allowed to do. The reason they weren't allowed to do this was because in 2015, we finally got the Title II FCC thing. And what
essentially that just means that the internet's now a utility.
And for those going, well, what the fuck does that mean? What that means is when you put something as a utility, that means that there's a very strict guideline to how it operates, and it doesn't change. The president can't change it. The The Congress can't change it. The only people who can change that Title II utility is the FCC, which means that it was protected. There was no regulation that could state otherwise. There's no lobbying involved. It was safe until 2016 rolls around and everything blew up. But essentially, what the problem is with now this not being a Title II and now an open market commodity, we have two problems. One, the open market is going to cut and deal away with consumer protections because, let's be honest, no one's interested in protecting the consumer anymore anywhere, it feels like. But more importantly, this now means that Congress can sit there and write any rules and regulations that it wants to benefit these ISPs and their bottom line, which is a huge problem for we the consumer.
Well, here's another one that I'm going to throw up on the screen here. This was back when Obama was still president and Donald Trump was still an idiot. He said, Obama's attack on the internet is another top-down power grab. Net neutrality is the fairness doctrine will target conservative media. Which is, that's not what the fairness doctrine was. The fairness doctrine is, like, Reagan actually got rid of that. And that basically said
1987.
somewhere around there, yeah. Fairness doctrine basically said that any news station that's out there has to apply equal and fair coverage to both sides of an issue, which is how it should be, as long as both sides are logical and it's not like something like flat Earth, which is
ridiculous.
Yeah. We know that's not true, so that doesn't deserve to be qualified in the same way. There's a difference between conservative viewpoints and liberal viewpoints, and those deserve to get both sides because there are logical arguments on both sides of an issue, but that's not what he's saying here.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when it comes to independent media, whether it's Breitbart, whether it's the Huffington Post, well, not Huffington Post, but like TYT Network, whether it's us here at the Hashtag Show, we're all considered independent media people. And what this does to us when we're trying to create our products and get our name recognized, we end up running into what I like to call an ISP highwayman. And what it is, it's like, we have only so much resource to do things with. And so the ISP is now going to tell people like us, people that you watch and read and view every day, where it's like, hey, you're using up a lot of data. And that's going to be an arbitrary amount because the infrastructure is already here to deal with America's stuff. Like we don't have the fast internet, but it's not exactly slow. But the thing is, this data, the infrastructure is already built to handle the 300 plus million people on this country. Like if we were having blackouts, like internet blackouts, this makes sense. Like that would indeed make sense, but that's not the case. And so it's like people like us, where it's like, hey, we noticed you're using a lot of data, a lot of IP. We noticed that you're using a lot of just data in general with your live streams and your stuff, and people are coming.
To clarify a little bit, this will not affect anything that we have going on YouTube.
Yeah,
because as far as YouTube is concerned, that's all handled through Google. So and the YouTube site. So anything that we put out through YouTube would be handled through YouTube service. So that would be a back end thing. So Time Warner or AT&T or Verizon could say, you know what, YouTube is sucking down a lot of bandwidth because of all the streaming of data that people are doing, and we have our own streams that we want to do. So we're going to slow Google down.
It's not going to affect our YouTube. I wouldn't say that it would. What it is going to do is it is going to affect our website. And that's kind of our thing. And with the website, it's like we start getting traffic, and that does play a part in algorithm, and it does play a part in how ISPs treat data. And so the ISPs can come up to us at Hashtag Show and go, hey, we noticed you're getting a lot of traffic, you're getting a lot of views. We would like you to pay a certain overhead to keep your traffic open, basically. And we're not talking about the rise in how fast things are moving, of course. Like, they're going to give us what we already have. Like, that's not going to change. We're just going to have to pay for that. And so, people, I would consider us a small independent businessy, I wouldn't say business, but a small independent media company where it's like, this could hold us back. This could This could even technically bring us over depending on how much they actually want from us. And the thing is, it's not like there's a regulation behind how much they can actually charge us, which is really scary.
Right. And so where we're looking at this is like, this is something that's not going to affect people for the most part on the consumer end. This is, I mean, it will for paid services like Netflix, who may have to say, okay, well, we have to pay more for our bandwidth now, so we're going to charge our consumers more. But overall, this is more of a business end issue for a lot of people. It's going to stifle competition because it's going to be harder for people like us who are smaller and just starting out to be able to get our foot in the door, because now we're going to have to pay more for internet access or for like our server being hosted on, you know, an external website or wherever it is.
And the thing is, this is actually going to stifle, like they talk about, oh, it's going to be really innovative for ISPs. Here's the thing, they don't have to. Again, the infrastructure is already here. The idea of 6th gen technology is not going to rely on a couple dollars and pennies from people who are going through the internet.
Well, not only that, but like ISPs as it is are a fairly non-competitive market. That like most municipalities have some sort of a non-compete clause that the ISPs or the cable companies have negotiated with them. So you guys probably have this where you live, that you can only access, you know, like maybe you only have access to Time Warner and Verizon, or you only have access to
Cox and
Charter. I mean, obviously you can also get DirecTV, but DirecTV, their internet service is provided through AT&T. So if AT&T isn't available in your area, you're still stuck.
And to put kind of a perspective on it, I lived in a city during my Army days where they were trying to build a municipality, and they created a law essentially that made it illegal to create that municipality because I think it was Bell or Charter way back in the day that's like, we will pay you not to do that. And so the city got money, but at the same time it screwed over so many people because there was only, I think, 1 or 2 choices, and both of them were basically the same thing. Imagine these ISPs kind of being like the railroads in the 1900s, where it's like it's such a independent commodity. No matter what, our internet is a way of life for everyone. I can't fill out resumes. I can't shop for particular items. I can't really do much of anything without the internet. It's so indispensable. And so when you have this independent commoditized product, you're going to see it go up with the free market. That's why we have $20 rolls of toilet paper. You know, this is a huge issue, especially because, like, if you don't have it, you can't do anything.
And I think the major problem with this is the way people are viewing it. Like, there's an article that you posted a couple of days ago on Facebook where a dude just goes, like, straight into what all the issues with net neutrality being repealed actually are. If you go into the comments on that article, everyone who's fighting against net neutrality has the argument completely backwards, because it's not the net neutrality was basically helping competition because it was making sure that all data was being treated equally. It's ones and zeros. Doesn't matter whether it's video, whether it's documents, whether it's audio. It's all the same. It's nothing. Now without it, like, I have T-Mobile. I don't know who your mobile carrier
AT&T.
is. Okay, so you've got AT&T. So with T-Mobile, I have a deal where I have Netflix as part of my service, which is, you know, awesome. I don't have to pay for Netflix now. But they're also offering free video streaming, you know, depending on the plan that you have. So now anything that I stream from Netflix isn't being counted against my data plan. And that's kind of where some of these services are going, but it's going to be with their own content. So if you're on AT&T, they're going to say, hey, you know what? You can get DirecTV streaming services for free because we're the same company. And what that does is that moves people to say, okay, well, I'm going to get DirecTV instead of Hulu, or I'm going to get DirecTV instead of Time Warner because
AT&T also
I have
has
an incentive
Apple
for
stuff,
it.
right? Apple TV?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has Apple TV. But what that does is by giving that service away for free, yes, it's a perk. So that is good for you as a consumer. However, conversely, if you don't want that service because you like what Hulu has to offer better, and they say, well, you know, Hulu isn't part of our network, so you're going to have to pay more to stream that data, that's where it kind of fucks people over.
Well, it almost kind of reminds me of the health industry, where it's like, oh, well, you're at a network, you're gonna have to pay extra. The thing is, the internet is a vastly ginormous system, and so like there's gonna be so many things out of network that it's gonna like maybe it goes against your data because you're using an out of network thing, and those are the kind of things that I'm just like, holy shit, this is gonna be a real problem. Like the way in my brain bucket, like when I was studying in college, I had to go everywhere to find sources. I had to go do things and find things, and a lot of this a lot of free information is going to end up behind paywalls. It's going to happen. It is. And, whether you're a coder who's doing free coding classes online, whether you're using Wikipedia, whether you're using, JSTOR or whatever be the case, there's so many items that are just going to go behind that wall and go, we can't afford it anymore.
I think what pisses me off about this the most is that the people who are vying for the repeal are doing so out of greed. Like, this has absolutely nothing to do with anything other than we can line our pockets with more money. And here, I want you guys to see this video if you haven't seen it yet, because this is like
this guy.
It just makes me so angry watching this.
Stupid face.
So this is the guy who ran the FCC.
He's also nicknamed the most hated man in America at the moment.
So he was put in by Trump earlier this year, even though he worked at the FCC under Obama, correct?
No, well, he may have worked under it, but I think it was...
He wasn't in charge. I know he had another job.
No, it was Wheeler that was in charge. And then Wheeler, I don't know if Wheeler got fired or if he resigned. It was one of the two. And then this...
But I mean, like, so like this guy, so he's showing you all these things that you're still going to be able to do with the repeal of net neutrality, which arguably is true. However...
Here's how I see it. Like,
he's doing it in such a douchebag way.
Well, because he wants to be seen as relatable and playable to we angry many. The thing is, when I look at this guy and he says, oh, you could still do this and you could still do that, he's forgetting the end part of that. You can still Instagram, you can still do Hulu, comma, but you'll have to pay more.
Right. Well, it's like, I can drive without having a driver's license.
Yeah, but...
It's going to cause problems for people, though.
Exactly. Like,
mostly me, but...
The thing is, he says you can do all this. He doesn't say the consequences of the things that you do because of this new law, and that's what pisses me off. This is such a misdirection of the real problem, and it's so bullshit. And...
No, I don't want to go behind the scenes. Fuck off. Like, I don't... It's just so... It's so bizarre how things are turning out right now.
If you told me everything this year, if you told me everything this year was going to happen in 2015, I wouldn't have believed you. I wouldn't have believed it. I wouldn't have. Like, if someone said in 2015, hey, Trump's going to be president, the democracy kind of looks more like a dictatorship, and I mean, not to sound too political, but if all these things that happened this year, scandals and people getting indicted and treason and all this other, wouldn't have believed it. Couldn't do it. Could not even entertain the idea.
What confuses me is the fact that people can just go out and read. Like, getting the facts on these things it's super easy. Like, you can go and read what net neutrality is. You can read what the repeal is and what's being repealed. And how people don't do that is so bizarre to me.
The problem with people in finding information nowadays, the problem with information and the way that it works, especially in the new digital age, people have found a way to twist the words in such a way where unless it basically pulls to your confirmation bias, it has to be fake. The best example is Pizzagate. We're sitting here talking about potentially Hillary Clinton having an underground sex dungeon at a pizza parlor, and the guy who created it, Alex Jones, had to go and apologize for... He literally said, this is fake. I totally made this up. That's just how it is. And people still believe that it's a thing. There's a guy who jumped, he had a gun, went into this pizza place and demanded to find the thing. After he said that, it was fake.
Yeah, it's just like all sense of logic has seemed to have left most people. And, like, I'd like to say it's just the right. but it's
no, it's the left too.
both sides, and it's misinformation because the problem
Hashtag
is
autism.
the problem is whenever you give out information that isn't correct, the other side is going to be able to jump on top of it and be like, look, this is fake, this isn't real, you're lying. And that's why it's so important now to make sure that any information that is going out about these things are accurate. And you know this is kind of a debate that you and I had at one point, like when you had that list of things is like, hey, this is what the internet could look like if net neutrality gets repealed, and it's like some mock-up of
which was like years and
years ago.
It was an old mock-up.
Yeah, but it's basically saying, oh well, if you want to use Twitter, that's going to be another $15. It's going to cost you 10 cents per Google search, and this is going to cost you this much money. Basically, making it look like a cable package, and that's realistically not what's going to happen.
I mean, we can't really know for sure.
Well, we can't know for sure, but in the grand scheme of things, I look at that as like end of world, like the I can't remember what are the people called that, like horde like all they have Fallout Shelter
Hoarders?
And not hoarders, but
Apocalypse. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Doomsday.
The Doomsday Preppers. Like to me that's borderline that. It's not quite the same, but like going off and being like, this is what could happen, and this could happen, and this could happen. It's going and saying, well, look at all these things that could happen, instead of this is what's going on right now.
But here's the thing, like, America has a notoriously short memory for everything.
Oh, absolutely.
And the thing is, once this is done, and let's assume that the FCC somehow manages to make this legal. Like, they sit there and they go, through the courts, through the ACLU, through just everybody, and it just somehow manages to pass. Even, it's going to take a while to implement the full extent of that. They'll wait years so you forget, and then implement.
So right now, realistically, right now, if the repeal completely and totally goes through, we're looking at least a year before anything actually substantial happens to it. And AT&T and Comcast and I believe Verizon have already said that they're not planning on making any changes in the foreseeable future, at least none that will be visible to the consumers.
Now, here's the thing: there actually are some possibly good things that could come out of this repeal.
Well, but before you get into that,
Yeah.
that's the reason that is because there can be good parts of a bill and there can be bad parts of a bill. And if say like look at the taxing that's going on right now, like with the tax
There's
regulations
nothing
that are
good
being
about that
changed.
tax thing. Nothing.
But were there bad things about the existing tax regulations and the existing tax system?
Well, I mean, it's the tax system. Of course, there's going to be a plethora of bad things.
Right. So it would be possible to say, okay, this is good, we're keeping this, but these things are kind of stupid, so let's change that. If they wanted to change things, they could just change things. Like, they don't have to repeal the entire thing, and then...
Well, it's a line item tax veto is what that is. And
I don't see why they just don't do that.
Because you're looking at like 200 years worth of laws, and the thing.
Well, no, I'm not saying with taxes. I'm saying just like across the board. With whatever it is that we're changing, it's possible to keep the good aspects of it and change the stuff that's bad that you don't agree with.
We could, but the thing is,
because like now the problem that you're going to have, like both with the taxes and with net neutrality, is okay. Yeah, sure. It's going to go through now. Whoever takes over after Trump, if they're not an idiot, they're going to go back and change it all back.
I mean, we've already elected an idiot. Who's to say we won't elect an even bigger idiot?
I mean, that's entirely possible.
At this point in time, the whole idea is shattered that we'll get someone competent.
Being slightly optimistic that the next person that comes into office
only slightly
is competent. Like, I can't see them doing anything but destroying everything bad, or at least attempting to destroy all the bad stuff that Trump has got into place.
I mean, don't get me wrong; it will be sweeping, it will be glorious when the day happens. But we're a little bit off track. But I was saying, coming back to, there are some potentially good things that come out of this. The first and major one being with basically saying, hey, open season, free market with these internet ISP providers. That also means that there's potentiality for basically municipal internets to be made. In fact, I was reading an article about some programmers who actually made a broadband connection out of a wet piece of twine. It gave them 4 megabytes a second, not very big, but just being able to jimmy rig a broadband connection out of basically nothing, it shows that it's a lot easier than the infrastructure is easier to build than it sounds. And so municipalities, cities could build their own, make it fast.
It would actually be a utility at that point.
Yeah, at that point in time, it would be utility. The best example is Chattanooga, Tennessee. For some of you internet geeks out there,
And they're running off of Google Fiber, right?
They're running off of Google Fiber. It's a ridiculous, blazing like 300 megabytes a second. It's the fastest internet in the world. And
Verizon has their fastest right now is also 300 up, and I want to, or 300 down and like 100 up or something like that. But it's like $200 a month.
Yeah, and so the thing is, a lot of these ISPs had deals with cities and states saying, hey, non-compete in these particular areas. It's whatever, and at that point in time, it's like it's a utility, so like whatever, go nuts. Now that we have basically them killing net neutrality creates a brand new market, which is the neutral market, and a lot of people are willing to pay for that neutrality, and to the point where people who want to build like the Google Fibers, or maybe Amazon wants to jump into the ISP business. There's so many people who have enough money to go, you know what, we're going to go do that. Like, make a Nutranet for the people. If you want to make this private internet prioritization crap, then there needs to be a public option. And now that you made this a free market item, the public option can now be available.
Now, see, where I'm curious is about like the internet backbones. So, there's these giant backbone connections that run all throughout the country, all throughout the world, where you're getting, like a teraflop per second of bandwidth. And that's where all the ISPs get their internet data from, and then it comes out to us, and it drops, and then they throttle us down to, 50 megabits a second or 100 megabits per second, or whatever the plan is that you're paying for. So with the repeal of net neutrality, how does that affect the backbones?
So with the backbones, that's going to get really interesting, because basically Verizon and Charter and Cox,
AT&T,
they can sit there and go,
mostly it's the telecoms that own
well, here's the
those.
thing. Technically, they could patent their backbones. They could be like, this is exclusively our stuff, and basically they divvy it up to where it's like, Verizon can't use Cox can't use Charter can't use this. So that way, basically exclusivity becomes the name of the game, and it changes the market.
Right, because like right now with the way things are, I know up in Bakersfield, up here in California, and down in Florida and Georgia, where I was before I was here, there's a company called Bright House. Bright House is basically Time Warner cable. They're using all of Time Warner systems. It's all the same as Time Warner, but it basically Time Warner is like wholesaling it to them, so it's under a different name with their plans and whatever they want to charge people for it. Metro PCS, that's another, that's a wireless company that's using someone else's wireless network. Boost is on a different person's wireless network. So that whole thing is going to be super interesting, because any company like that's out there, are they going to be prone to the same things that the company that they're leasing their data from are? Like, how's that going to affect those companies?
My guess is if they don't have a backbone in that area, or whatever be the case, they're probably going to end up either leasing, auctioning, or trading data. One of the three. And with any luck, they'll be smart enough to go, you know what, we need to cover it, or they blame all of us. We'll see what happens if they're all and the thing is, if they're all working together, which is what oil prices used to do these days.
Right. Well, they still do. It's OPEC.
Yeah.
OPEC determines the prices that people buy things at.
Exactly. And so basically, the ISPs could do that, and where it's like they all come together and go, okay, how much is doing what and where. But I mean, there are people trying to fight back, which is so important.
So T-Mobile is a really interesting company right now, because they're trying to break the way that carriers typically do all their mobile services.
The CEO is kind of an asshole.
he is, but he's kind of an asshole in the same way that like Elon Musk and like Mark Cuban are assholes.
So not like McPhee?
No, not exactly. So one of the other things that T-Mobile just recently did is they bought a company called Layer 3 TV. And Layer 3 TV is essentially like, they're trying to be like Hulu and Sling, they all have their own IPTV services now, where you can YouTube TV. YouTube has that now, where you can pay like $35-$40 a month,
and it gathers,
and you get live TV channels through the internet rather than having to get it through your cable system. So the way cable's working right now is going to be weird, and after all these streaming services come out, probably going to end up paying the same thing that you're paying now for cable. But layer 3, now that they're merging with T-Mobile and the way T-Mobile is working their plans, you'll be able to have live TV on the go along with your internet service. So they're moving to a point where I have unlimited data on my phone.
right?
So, what do I need my ground connection for? My hard line.
Well, I mean, unplugging has been around for at least a decade. It's not going to go away, and at this point, everyone knows. And if you don't know, just throw a rock, ask somebody. TV's going away. Like TV cable,
traditional TV.
Yeah, traditional cable TV is, I would say, 20 years tops is not going to be a thing. If you're an old man watching Fox News on the TV, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, but you're still going to have over-the-air broadcasts. That's a requirement of the emergency broadcast system.
Yes.
So you're still going to have all these over-the-air channels, but actual cable, that's completely I give it 5 years before it really starts turning into the music industry.
Well, the only channels that are going to be left are the national cable, which is 2, 4, 7, 5, 13.
Yeah, well, the biggest problem that I see with cable, I know we're getting away from the net neutrality, but this kind of plays into that a little bit, is that right now, when I had Time Warner, I had 400 channels, 500 channels, 600 channels, something like that.
You only watched 5.
And I watched 5 of them because they package all these things together. I don't watch Lifetime. I'm sure a lot of people do.
You mean you don't like the biographies?
But then there's all these other random channels that are packaged. They're like 3rd, 4th string channels that are packaged with Lifetime.
Sure, because
they
still make money off.
Yeah, but people don't watch them, and I think if it was more of a thing where you paid for what you watch, a lot of those channels would go away.
Oh yeah, no. The thing is, I think somebody, I want to say, Charter or Comcast, some cable provider sat there and said, we're going to play with that. We're going to, I think it was like a 10-channel package for this much, a 20-channel package, and you get to pick what they were, and it didn't work out for them. It didn't work out because...
because people only wanted like 25, 30 channels, and everything else was...
bullshit.
Just bullshit.
Yeah, but to go back to, because I know we're getting a little off topic, just swerving it back, there are people fighting back, and I'm not just talking about the ACLU or people signing petitions.
Well, there's a lot of states that are suing.
Over 20 states are suing, which is literally almost half America is suing the FCC.
And then there's also, in addition to the actual states, at the government level, there's people that are putting together class action lawsuits. There's talks of congressional hearings, but being that the Republicans control the White House right now, it's not very likely that any congressional proceedings would fix any of that.
That's not entirely true. The thing is, there are a couple Republicans who are like, okay, this sounds like a really bad idea.
There's a couple, but it's from what I've been reading, it's not enough.
Well, right now the current divide is 49-51. They only need 2 Republicans to cross over, and that's very potential that
but that's also if all the Democrats actually
they will.
fall in line
The thing
with
is,
that.
they'll do it just to spite. And the thing is, when you're dealing with midterms this year, plus 83% of the American electorate wants net neutrality, they're not gonna fuck with that. They're not gonna do it.
You wouldn't think so.
But
I've seen Democrats come out and say some really weird shit recently.
I don't know.
Even Doug Jones.
Doug Jones said some weird things today.
And then there was that other woman that was talking about the whatever with people what women were wearing. I'm like,
but anyway, to continue, who else is fighting back? Not only do we have these states suing, but we also have states like California, Oregon, and I think New York. They're all talking about making state-level neutrality laws, which is really interesting because the ISPs right now are currently lobbying to make net neutrality on a state level illegal. If that happens through Congress, I'm not entirely sure that would be a thing, because the Republicans' whole thing is like states' rights and everything else. So for them to go against the idea of state rights to make net neutrality not a thing everywhere, I mean, it just shows that they really don't stand for anything. I mean, they can't really call themselves the Family Values Tour anymore. They can't really call themselves the tax hawks anymore. States' rights is still a thing, but are they gonna put that under the bus too? Like, I don't know.
yeah, who knows?
So I mean, in terms of future things, what do you think, or how do you think businesses are going to adjust? Because you're going to have to adjust. Like all online businesses are going to have to.
Right now, they can't.
Well,
like there is absolutely nothing that they can do until they actually know how they're going to be affected. They can plan all they want, but like, what's the plan for if you don't know what that change is going to be?
That's the thing.
Realistically, the only thing that they can do is adjust their budget so that they have additional money to spend on their broadband if they need to.
Avenue sense or ad revenue stuff doesn't make nearly enough money. Like, I think for CPM, you're getting for clicks per thousand. For those who don't know, for every 1,000 clicks, you get a certain amount of money with Google. And I think your largest CPM is probably maybe $6-7. It's not a lot, and it hasn't really changed since the advent of AdWords.
Yeah, well, I mean, all that's dependent on so many different things.
Yeah.
It's dependent upon how much traffic your website's getting. It's dependent upon the type of demographics that your website's getting, the type of advertising that's going up on your website.
And the thing is, $6 to $7 CPM is pretty high. I mean, your average is going to be like $2-3, and so it's like one of the things are going to happen. Either all these internet groups are going to have to paywall, do subscription. Or completely just go under, and that's a scary prospect because there are a lot of small business places that you go around. Whether it's fmylife.com, that #show.com, even Etsy will have these kind of issues, and so I want to save parts of the internet that have regular people attached to them. I mean, don't get me wrong, corporations are going to survive. We know this. It's a matter of saving the people that we support the most. Like we love innovators, and we love people who can create, like the VoIP. VoIP couldn't be possible without net neutrality. Skype couldn't be free without net neutrality. And people who want to create HTML 5.0 into new and inventive ways aren't going to be able to do it because they're too busy paying off the ISPs to try and make their product work. Tired.
Yeah, like I said, that's the biggest problem is companies that don't exist yet. Is that they're going to run into problems with being able to afford say I came out with the next Netflix. I have this great platform, talk to all the studios, and I'm going to be streaming all these movies, but Time Warner doesn't want me to do that because I'm going to be screwing with their live streaming service.
Or even worse.
Or Verizon doesn't want me to do that because I'm going to be screwing with their live streaming service. So they throttle my connection, and then I don't get any subscribers because my service is really slow.
Or even worse, you are an innovator and you have like this brand new idea, and then all of a sudden it's like you now come in crosshairs with maybe an ISP who's creating a similar product, and they can and will shut you down. They can. They have the opportunity to go, it's antitrust is what that is.
An individual ISP wouldn't be able to do that. It would have to, because in theory, there's all these other ISPs that exist all around the country. So all of them, like, in order to block you from doing from doing whatever it is that you're doing, unless you're a super local thing, they won't be able to completely block you.
Well, no, they won't be able to completely block you, but being regionally blocked is still going to affect.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And like, I mean, let's say Charter has a lossless VoIP, for example, where everything's like true to life 4K.
Well, that happened with so AT&T. They were blocking people from using FaceTime on Apple because they were like, oh, well, it's using too much of our data.
Yeah, it's already a thing, and so it bugs me that people are going to get screwed. And to talk more about the fighting back, there's even people on a very local level who are creating these new things. 2 examples. We have someone here in America, I don't remember his name, it's on a Vice article somewhere, but basically he's building relay towers with other people, and it's an open sourced, completely private network. and basically you plug some things into your computer and it becomes a relay, or you can build your own tower in your backyard. And a few people use it right now, and it's apparently super fast, and like no one knows who you are. So I mean, you get your privacy, you get your speeds, and nothing changes. And then on top of that, there's another group in Dubai. I don't know if you guys watch Silicon Valley at all, but they came up with this idea of a brand new internet that's based off of relaying on top of smartphones. And someone's actually building this in Dubai now. Like the lossless data crunching so small that you can fit an entire internet on a cloud of smartphones.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how everything's going. Again, like I said, I'm not joining the ranks of the internet doomsday preppers yet, because I'm fairly positive that because of consumer backlash, things are not going to be changing in a noticeable way for any time in the near future, and that by the time they think that they can make those changes, hopefully other people will be in control that will be able to fix that.
Well, my guess is they're gonna build the products for the change, but they're gonna wait till 2020. Once 2020 rolls around, we see if we get Potato Face McGee or a new guy, and if we end up keeping Trump for another, I can't say it with a straight face. If we end up keeping him for a second term, they're going to enact all the changes, because by the time no one can do anything about it. But that's my theory on the nature.
Yeah, I mean, I'm playing the waiting game, because I can't, like, there's literally, as of right now, no way to know what the future of the internet holds. We can guess, we can surmise, we can use deductive logic to be like, okay, well, these are all the things that can potentially happen, but until that one asshole ISP actually makes those changes and the rest follow suit, we're still everything is going to remain the same.
Yeah. And honestly, let us know what you guys think. If you think this is the end of the Wild West, the last frontier, if you will, let us know in the comments down below. We'd love to have a conversation with you guys. You can find us on THS Hashtaggers on Facebook. You can find us at that hashtag show. You can find us at PCR.
Pop Culture Renegades.
Pop Culture Renegades. Yep. That's what PCR means for those who don't know. And yeah, this is a major, passionate conversation with us, so we'd love to talk to you about it. Where can we find you?
Well, you can find me until the internet gets shut down on Twitter at the Goldman. You can find me writing at thathashtagshow.com. And you can find me posting every once in a while on Facebook in the THS Hashtaggers group and Pop Culture Renegades.
You can find me at Slammy Sammy Lock on the Twitters, on the Instagrams. You can find me at Steam Bunny Productions, where I do comedy stuff sometimes on my YouTube. I'm on thathashtagshow.com, shit posting articles, and and you can find me here at Pop Culture Renegades every Sunday-ish, give or take.
Yeah, next week I don't know if we're going to do Sunday because it's Christmas Eve, but we will be back with the best and worst of sci-fi in 2017 and what we're looking forward to in 2018 sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, the holidays make everything funky wonky, so we're trying to...
Yeah, so we might come up midweek. We might do it after the New Year or between the New Year and Christmas.
I'm going to just set a big old Yule log right here to celebrate.
That'll be a burning Vader.
Hey, the way I see it, the world has taken a lot of beating this year. We somehow made it out without nuking anybody, so we're doing something.
So far, we still got...
I don't want to say something right, but we've
still got 14 days left.
We've got to keep things at bay. We've been able to do it just barely. Thank God for checks and balances, but don't give up the fight for net neutrality. It's that important, and keep bugging your senators.
And read the facts. Don't give out misinformation. That's my biggest request.
And where can you find good information? You can find it right here at Pop Culture Renegades, and also at that hashtag show. My name is Samuel Locke.
And I'm Josh.
Thank you here for watching us at Pop Culture Renegades.
Peace.